So let's talk about Recover. What is NASA Recover 2.0? Well, number one, it's a cloud-based smart map platform designed specifically for post-wildfire recovery management and long-term monitoring. Now, that post-wildfire recovery management could include the preparation and development of BEAR plans, or BAR plans, ESNR plans. It all matters on your agency and what you are required to do. It can also pertain to, for instance, the National Weather Service and their concern with post-wildfire flooding, erosion, debris flows, those sorts of things. County emergency managers, all those fall under post-wildfire management. And long-term monitoring. So as a fire occurs, let's say in 2023, and there certainly will be wildfires in 2023, there already are, then of course there's the need to monitor what's happening to that landscape, that burned landscape over time, and how quickly does it return to a functioning ecosystem or pre-fire conditions, those sorts of things. So right now we are working on some new capabilities that will provide that long-term monitoring to you through the same Recover dashboard that we're going to look at here in a little bit. Now, like the original Recover 1.0 or Recover Beta that some of you, maybe many of you, used a number of years ago, Recover 2.0 remains customer-driven, customer-centric, or consumer-centric decision support system. And you'll see the little asterisk there. The customers or our consumers are agency or organizational wildfire and land managers at the USDA Forest Service, Department of Interior, BLM, National Park Service, National Weather Service, as well as state agencies, CAL FIRE, Idaho Department of Lands, just to name a couple, county emergency managers. Some of you may be online right now. So that you are our customer. And if you see something you don't like about Recover, then let us know. And if we hear that enough, then we're going to change that sort of thing, whatever Recover's doing that's not helping you out. If you have some ideas, gee, it would sure be great if Recover provided this, whatever this is, let us know. There'll be a couple of opportunities you'll see in the slides coming up here to show you, here's how you contact us. Lots of ways to do that. And we're very receptive to those suggestions or ideas that you may have. Okay, we already looked at today's itinerary. We're on our presentation right now. Going to be moving into the demo next in just a little while. Recover 2.0, a little bit of acknowledgements. Recover 2.0 was made possible by a grant from NASA Earth Sciences, Applied Sciences, Wildland Fire Management Program, and our program director is Dr. David Green. This would not be possible without that funding made available by NASA. And I've had a long record of working with NASA, a lot of good folks at NASA, good folks to work with. So thank you there to NASA Applied Sciences, Earth Sciences. Some enhancements provided by Recover, even when we first did Recover 1.0 or Recover Beta. Some of the enhancements that we heard frequently from our end users, from those customers and consumers, were number one, the rapid data acquisition, how quickly you will be able to or can access the spatial data and upcoming reports needed to form your BEAR plan or your post-wildfire rehabilitation plan. In Recover 1.0, we were looking at 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, and that data would be available to you. And right now, with the new Recover, we are looking at about 3 minutes as our servers go through and process files and have them ready for you. The other thing that was brought to our attention, a lot of our customers or consumers really liked about Recover was the cross-organizational collaboration. We broke down silos. That's the little graphic right there. But what we mean by that is it's so easy now for, let's say, the Forest Service to share and access the exact same data that the BLM has access to, let's say, or that the county manager also has access to, or that tribes have access to, those sorts of things. There are, we've done a lot of work with wildfires. I have done a lot of work with wildfires over the 20-some years that I've been at this stuff on the research that I've done. And as I look at all these different wildfires that have occurred on the landscape over the years, I don't know that there has even been one wildfire of any size, I guess, that has burned entirely over only one jurisdiction, right? One management agency, let's say. We had a small fire here in Idaho. So we're in the southeastern part of Idaho, just about 2.5 hours north of Salt Lake City, just about 2.5 hours to the west and south of Yellowstone National Park. To kind of put that into perspective, here in Pocatello, there was a small 574-acre fire that was used for the Recover 1.0. And even that wildfire had 3 jurisdictions involved. Some of that was private land, some of it was BLM, the balance was state lands. So breaking down those silos was very important. The data was available cross-organizationally, and it was the same data. It had the common operational picture or a uniform geospatial context, and that's what you'll see. Recover is in all the data you're going to be able to access. Everything lines up correctly. It overlays correctly. It's ready to be used in something like ArcGIS. And you don't have to worry about reprojecting things. You don't have to worry about clipping things. Recover's done that for you already. And so that makes things a whole lot easier for you. Maybe as you're working with your GIS staff in your own office, the data is already there. Now you get to do some of the more sophisticated spatial analysis in your own office and spend time on that instead of acquiring data and so on. Well, I'd like to take a couple minutes to introduce you to the whole Recover 2.0 team. I've already introduced myself. Brad Quayle, I think, is also connected right now. He is with the Forest Service GTAC right there in Salt Lake City. And I've worked with Brad for years, even with the original Recover 1.0. Brad's is our co-PI on this project. And it's great to work with the folks at the Forest Service, including Craig Baker and Allie Renner. And I don't know if all those folks are connected right now, but that's part of our Recover team. And then the balance of our team is located right here at Idaho State University, here at the GIS Center. And that's Cole Rosner, Austin Thompson, and Madison Hatch. And you might look at that and you're probably thinking, well, hold on, where's all the other people? Where's those dozens and dozens of other people? You're probably picturing Kennedy Space Flight Center, and we have all these computers and beeping and buzzing going on. No, that's not what's happening. We have some big servers behind the scenes that are doing some work for us, but it's kind of the power of the few. And we have a very talented team. A lot of folks are a very dedicated team to making this thing work well, and good proof that a small number of people can pull off some really, really good stuff. And this is about the same size team we had with the original Recover. And yeah, great team. And you will all meet them virtually today as we go through the workshop. Let's talk about the data that we've been alluding to, or I've been alluding to. Currently, Recover 2.0 covers the Western United States. That is this colored or highlighted area, those 11 Western states, which happen to be the place where the majority of wildfires tend to occur. Not exclusively, of course, but tend to occur right there. We are in 2.0, we are leveraging the Esri ArcGIS online cloud, and that's being done purposefully, a number of reasons. The primary reason for that is that after the funding period of Recover 2.0, this capability, this platform, is going to be transitioned to U.S. Forest Service GTAC, who will then take all that existing technology and the plan is maintain it into the future. Of course, there are contingencies that can come up, but that is the plan as we're moving forward. And we already have put in place the technical mechanism to make that happen. And so that is the long-term plan. Recover uses existing authoritative data as web services as much as possible. When we first did the original Recover, there wasn't that many web services out there. There was data, oftentimes in clearinghouses and stuff like that. And so here at the GIS Center, we gobbled up those downloads and we converted them into REST services to support Recover. But of course, we also had to monitor those sources at least on an annual basis and look for changes, grab the new version, make that available, and so on and so forth. The problem with that is it's possible to miss some changes or current data might be delayed. But by changing now to using existing web services from the authoritative source itself, directly from the USGS, directly from the Forest Service, directly from NASA, et cetera, you will always have access to the most current data. As that agency updates that data, you're going to have access to it through Recover right there in the dashboard, and the 3D viewer we're going to see in a little bit. You'll have it available to you instantly. Just like the original Recover, 2.0 provides data packages. So what you're going to have access to is a zip file you'll download that will contain about 29 right now layers of data, rasters and vectors for that specific fire. And that is also proved to be a very important part of Recover, because you now have a record of the geospatial data that you used to make the decisions that you made on how you're going to write that rehab plan, that recovery plan. And I would recommend keeping that data tucked away. So if there's ever any question about why did you do this or do that, it's because this is what the data was, informing me of. It indicated this, that, and the next thing, maybe on debris flow potential, anything like that. So you will still have access to that data package as well. Here is a list of the GIS base layers. That data package that you're going to receive when you click on the download link will contain links, or will contain these 29 base layers. There's a bunch of vector data that you see there on the left, plus a bunch of raster data that you're seeing there on the right. That list is not written in concrete. It's not chiseled into stone or anything like that. In fact, with the evaluation that you're going to see later on today, you'll be asked, are all of these layers useful to you? Do you think that any of these layers could be removed? Are we missing any layers? Any of those sorts of things. So there'll be your opportunity to let us know about other very important layers that you would like to see added into Recover. And we can do those things pretty darn easily as long as we know about it. So those layers are automatically clipped to the fire extent envelope, okay? A fire extent envelope. So here's what we're doing right now. Let me show you. Right there, we're looking at the Double Creek fire, burned last year, a very large fire in Oregon. And that we're looking at right now is the perimeter of the fire itself. We're not clipping to the perimeter of the fire. What we're doing is we are taking the envelope of that fire and that's what you're looking at right now, that rectangle shown in dark gray, that is the envelope of the fire. We're not clipping with that though. We're going one step further. These are things we learned for the original Recover. We are then buffering that envelope by 5,000 meters or 5 kilometers. And that rectangle that you're looking at right there is indeed the cookie cutter, you know, think of it like that, that we're using to clip all those 29 layers that go into the data package zip file that you then have access to. Now, an alternative to this clipping extent we're actually currently working on, and that is to use the watershed polygons at a HUC level 12, hydrologic unit code level 12. And what we're doing here is, let's say this same wildfire is intersecting the watershed boundary database and automatically select by location, selecting certain watershed polygons. And then what we're doing is we're taking the envelope of those, the envelope of those polygons, and that then becomes the cookie cutter. So what we're seeing is that this approach would be slightly larger than what you're seeing with our current or standard approach. We're interested to hear your input on that. We have heard from some folks that they really would like to see this, would like to hear from all of you on your approach, if we should stay with the standard or traditional approach or move into this watershed clipping, we'll call it that type of approach instead. And we're kind of leaning toward this approach to give you the data you need, because we realize that oftentimes you need to be including whole watersheds in your analysis. Plus, we have already added burn severity layers, DNBR. Now, this is not the classified burn severity layers, and we had actually some lengthy discussions about this, and it became the discussion of the chicken and the egg. So with the original Recover, we had lots of discussions with bear teams that wanted the preliminary DNBR, continuous data, 1.0, 0.95, all that kind of stuff like this. They wanted that data, especially for the very large mega fires. They wanted that data to help direct their efforts as they went into the field. We should field sample over here because this is some pretty high DNBR values. We should do some field sampling over there. It looks like it's an unburned island inside the wildfire perimeter, and so on and so forth. And then that data is then, of course, validated by the bear teams to produce the final burn severity or fire severity layer. But that takes some time to get that done. What we are right now providing is the unclassified or preliminary DNBR data available through MTBS, and that has been rolled into the Recover data package and also into the dashboard. So the second piece I already alluded to earlier is the long-term monitoring data. And what we're thinking about doing here is essentially following the regeneration index research that's been done. Brad Quayle and the folks over there at GTech have done quite a bit of good work on that. And we're planning on doing using that approach, the regen index, for our long-term monitoring. The first step along those lines is to establish a very good baseline of what vegetation productivity looked like or looks like across the Western United States. We've already started accessing some of that data, Landsat imagery, building a good baseline, and then with that good baseline, we will be able to move into monitoring as wildfires occur. More on that later, and as that matures, that whole capability matures. Other spatial data, well, please contact either myself, there's my email, weebkeet@isu.edu, or Brad Quayle at usda.gov to suggest alternative layers that you may need or would like to see available to you with Recover. I'd like to tell you about just a little peek under the hood to learn how Recover does this work and prepares this data. I alluded to this earlier, that we're able to process fires in about 3 minutes right now. So that is good. Fast is good, but accurate is all the better, right? And again, that's why we're using authoritative data sets to ensure that accuracy and good quality data. But process automation uses what we call our large fire trigger. We developed the large fire trigger with the original Recover. And what's happening now is our server is monitoring the WFIGS wildfires layer service coming from NIFC. Okay, so it monitors that on a nightly basis. Well, we haven't kicked it into a nightly basis yet, but shortly it will be running every night. And when it finds a wildfire greater than 1,000 acres in size, that fire and any total number of fires discovered on that day or that night greater than or equal to 1,000 acres are processed automatically. Those same wildfires are refreshed or updated as they change. So if a wildfire is detected with the large fire trigger tonight, let's say, 1,000 acres, and it continues to burn, the next day it's 1,001 acres, or maybe it's 2,000 acres, whatever, the whole wildfire will be refreshed. A whole new data package, new perimeters, so on and so forth. It'll be refreshed on that nightly basis. So once Recover's large fire trigger processes a fire, it's not done with it until it kind of disappears off of the radar. In other words, it's not being currently updated. So we're also watching that date current or current date attribute that's in that WFIGS service. All the data that the large fire trigger processes is output into that data package, and then it's zipped up and it's pushed to another server that happens to be the server that you will be accessing when you click on download this data package. And that is all done through the dashboard. Okay, let's talk about a simulated workflow with Recover 2.0. Number one, a wildfire has occurred somewhere in the Western United States. And if that's something you need to handle, something you need to deal with, then of course, you would then visit that Recover dashboard, select the fire from the Recover quick list. This is our Recover quick list. You'll see it actually quite a bit larger in just a little bit now. All of the fires that have been processed by Recover will appear right there. Those fires that are shown with the red background are mega fires. That's just simply used to identify fires of 100,000 acres or larger. And of course, we have a pretty good list right now because it's showing you those 2022 wildfires when we first started building this up late last year. We'll talk about these different widgets that are available on the dashboard in just a little bit. And this, of course, is our web map area that we'll talk about during the demo. Well, what if a fire area of interest or fire perimeter is not shown on the dashboard? Maybe it wasn't picked up by WFIGS. Maybe it was a prescribed fire, or maybe it is an area where you're planning some sort of work that you need to revisit, or whatever it happens to be. For whatever reason, it's not currently shown in Recover, but you'd like to see that done. Well, we have a new geoprocessing model to run what we call submitted fires. We've actually done one of those already in Northern California, and we have that workflow pretty well figured out. So we can do that. We know how to do that. We actually did that routine repeatedly with the original Recover. So that is something we can certainly do. It's just a submitted fire type of approach. And then once it goes into Recover, it looks, acts, and feels just like any other of those Recover wildfires. Or let's say you have additional data to add for a specific fire. Maybe you have some LiDAR data available or some UAS aerial imagery available for a specific fire. You don't have it for the whole Western United States, but you have it for a specific fire that you're working on, and you want to share that with the others who are also accessing the same data set. You can certainly contact us. We've done these sort of things in the past also, and we call that our hopper. We can drop a lot of data into our hopper, and out the other end comes a image service, maybe some of that aerial imagery, or maybe it's some other vector data, points, lines, polygons. But contact us if you have any of those special circumstances, and there's also a link on our Recover webpage right there. There's a contact us link right there, and there's lots of ways that you can get a hold of us. The email you saw earlier, another way that you can get a hold of us and let us know about additional data you may have or a submitted fire you'd like to see added to Recover, whatever it happens to be. Well, still under construction, we have some summary reports, improved dashboard widgets we're still working on, and as I alluded to earlier, the long-term vegetation monitoring post-fire using that regen index. We're still working on it. You're not going to see that layer or those layers today, but hopefully we can get that capability rolled out in the not too distant future. Well, time for that demo that I promised, but first, are there any questions regarding Recover 2.0 concepts? Feel free to unmute yourself or pop the question into the chat line. And Craig, do you have a question?
Yeah, just real quick, you mentioned the possibility of taking UAS-derived imagery and bringing it into the Recover utility. Maybe I should wait till see your demo first, but I was just wondering, is there any post-processing capabilities, or would it just be like that's a footprint that the data sources that you talked about would be recovered from that footprint?
Yeah, so I haven't thought about doing any post-processing on imagery that's supplied to us. What we had done in the past is we took data, imagery made available to us, assembled it, made it into a service, put it back into Recover so all the parties would have access to it. But your idea is an intriguing one, Craig. So maybe we should follow up on that and discuss that some more with some of those ideas on how we could do that and make it work, be as helpful to you and the fire community as possible. Right now, that actually is a new idea I haven't even thought of, but it's not a bad idea. It's a good idea.
Thank you. You bet. Definitely I'll be open for subsequent conversations for sure. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. Any other questions? Doing good? Okay, let me go ahead. I'm going to start the demo. To do the demo, I'm gonna have to sit down so I can control my computer a little bit better. I hope you'll be able to see this. This is our web page, current web page for the Recover 2.0 project. This is that Contact Us button I alluded to or mentioned earlier. The other thing that you'll see right here is this thumbnail. This thumbnail is a thumbnail of our dashboard. And if you come to this web page right here, just click the thumbnail and it's going to launch the dashboard. This is the NASA Recover dashboard. We're doing everything live right now. And one thing I noticed whenever I'm using Zoom is it really slows down my network connection. So some of these things are going to respond a little bit slower than they do in real time, than they do for you, I suppose, when you're going to go into the hands-on exercise. But that also makes me slow down a little bit too as I'm explaining things. Lots of things going on this page. So let me just start with a little bit of a tour of the terminology that we use with this. This is a dashboard. A dashboard is something that normally has a map on it and a bunch of what Esri likes to call widgets, little tools that do something that interact actually with the map. Up on the top, we have our title bar, some logos, and very normal type of stuff. But over here, we also see our menu, a little 3/ hamburger, as we call it, or used to call it. This will give you access to our 3D viewer. We'll look at that in a little bit. It'll also give you access to the metadata. And so we have a very large metadata document available. Every one of the layers that we're providing to you has metadata. And since it's over 200-page document, there are links to let you jump to information, metadata about that specific layer. So that is available to you. Going back to the menu, the tutorial, we'll be looking at that in just a little bit. And then, of course, another way to contact us. And I also mentioned to you bookmarking something. This is probably the page I would bookmark. I mean, you could bookmark this page and then you still got to click the dashboard to get it started. But I probably would bookmark this. In fact, I have personally bookmarked this so I can jump back into it and when I come back to work every morning and see how things are going. So anyways, that's our menu. Going down, and this is our map area. This is a selector tool that you'll get a chance to work with in just a little while. A search tool, very common, very normal how this thing works. We've got a couple of bookmarks set up. This will, of course, zoom you in much closer into the Western United States. And as you launch these additional tools, you can close them back up either by clicking on it again or clicking on the X as an exit. There is also a legend that will show for any layer that is being displayed, draw is turned on, then that layer's legend will appear. You can control what layer is being turned on or off from our layers list. We use this a lot. You'll use it a lot in the exercise today. To make it easier for you, since we have right now 29 layers, what we have done is we have thematically grouped them. There's a wildfires grouping, layer group. There's a boundaries layer group. PLSS, specific, just the PLSS stuff, is a couple layers underneath that in that group. States, township, sections, roads and trails, hydro, land cover, that's where you're going to find all the land fire data, soils, all the SERGO, StatsCo data, weather data under the precipitation accumulation forecast, weather satellite imagery, and terrain. All the elevation, slope, aspect, those sorts of layers are found there. And if you like, you can change the base map from this imagery to something else that suits your liking. Okay, so here's this quick list, right? So the fire that I'm interested in, that we're going to be looking at and focusing on today, is this Double Creek fire. I'm going to click it, just click it once, and notice how that widget is tied to the web map. It automatically zoomed to that Double Creek fire. And now I can click on this particular fire polygon and scroll down just a little bit, and here it says download recover data package. I'm going to click view, that's the default term. I'm going to click view and notice that it automatically downloads that zip file to your computer. I'm going to close this thing up. And now if I like, I can go in and I can turn on or off other layers I may be interested in looking at. You're going to have a chance to do that with the exercise. So I'm not going to spoil all the fun for you. You're going to have a chance to kick those tires yourself. Then, of course, there, I'm going to close this up. There is the filter tool, right? The filter tool executes against the WFIGS layer, correct, Austin?
Correct.
Yep. It executes against that. So we're looking at fires in 2023 or for the current year. And you can filter by the date of containment, or a filter for fires occurring in a given county or a given state. And the part of the exercise is going to walk you through this. These things interact. So if I select Arizona as my state, and then I decide, I think I want to find all the fires in Ada County, Idaho. Well, it won't find anything because Ada County doesn't even exist in Arizona. I don't think there is. I do not think that there is an Ada County in Arizona. So you're going to see how that works. You're going to have a chance to play with that as part of the exercise. Pretty powerful tool as well. And this one rolls up and gets out of your way. This is kind of an interesting thing here. And this is where the little selector tool comes in. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to select. Notice that kind of a purple color appeared now for this particular wildfire, the Double Creek wildfire. And if you were noticing, these widgets changed. And so this is saying that the majority of land is being managed as private land. And here's some information from the G-Surgo layer about mechanical planting suitability, K-factor. The one thing, and this is what we're working on for enhancing these widgets, the one thing that's happening is, remember we talked about the envelope before, right? So what's happening then when we click this, ArcGIS behind the scenes is doing a really simple select. It's using this polygon right here and all of the Surface Management Agency polygons that touch it, even if the majority of it is way out here. If it touches any part of this wildfire, it gets selected. It's part of this calculation. I don't really like that. It's not perfect, and I want this to be perfect. How are we going to make it perfect? Well, right now, you can make it perfect. You're going to walk through making it perfect as part of the hands-on exercise. So I'll let that go until that time. But we're also working toward making these widgets better, making them perfect, so they really do give you that information that you need immediately, instead of having to download the package and do some additional work that we're going to show you how to do later today. If you are doing a bunch of work over here, maybe you've done some filters and all of a sudden this isn't working like I want it to. This is like the easy button, right? Just click this little button right here and it just wipes the slate clean. You have just erased that whiteboard or that chalkboard and you're back to original. Okay, back to default. So away you go. Okay, let's take a minute to take a look at the 3D viewer. This will launch in a separate window again. And it looks and acts and feels very similar to the dashboard and to the web map that's on that dashboard. But you'll notice automatically it does have a little bit more of a three-dimensional appearance to it. We see the horizon of the globe, so that's kind of neat looking. We first developed something just like this with the original Recover right at the end of that original funding period, but we brought it right back because it was quite popular. And a lot of folks can visualize that landscape, that fire landscape, better in a three-dimensional appearance as compared to a 2D top-down type of approach. And other folks perfectly well working with it this way, but we are giving you both options and different ways to learn about that burned landscape. So we can see here, there's that same Double Creek fire. I'm going to just roll my mouse cursor into this thing Yep, that looks like the same thing. I click it, sure enough, I can download the data package here as well. It's the same fire, nothing, same data package, everything's exactly the same, just how it appears and how it's being displayed to you. One of the things I like to do on this is to use this little tool right here. It's the toggle to pan or rotate. Well, we're going to go to rotate in 3D. I'm going to press and hold the control on my keyboard. And notice as I move my mouse cursor different directions, I can see different things, right? It looks different. I'm going to lay it down like this, almost like I'm flying into it. I'm going to turn off that. That gives a little bit better appearance, maybe. I'm going to turn on some of the terrain layers. Let's take a look at the steep slopes, 30% or greater steep slopes. That was asked of us a while ago to produce something like this. There we have those, and I'm rotating this around so I can take a look at those things, and I can interact with this, of course, also. It just says it's a value of 1, meaning it's true. It is a steep slope of 30% or greater. So we can, of course, interact with this thing. We can also, this is kind of a very interesting way to learn about that wildfire. We can look at the post-wildfire debris flows. This data here, particular, is from the USGS landslide hazards program. And I'm going to turn on, the combined hazards estimate. Give that just a little bit of time to draw. It's actually a fairly large piece of data. And by the way, when I'm doing, I forgot to turn the layer group on. There we go. Normally, it doesn't take too long to draw that. There we go. Now we're seeing some stuff. It may be kind of difficult to differentiate the fire polygon orange from some of this other stuff. So we can go back to our layer list, scroll it to the top, and now I'm actually going to turn off the recover fires. And now we can see just that data, the combined hazard data. And this is interesting here, right along this area, very high values. I can zoom in some more into it. What's going on right here? Maybe kind of just pan that around. Looks like we're on top of a ridge line. Those sort of things going on. Well, I could go on and on and on because I find this stuff really interesting, right? And I like to learn about landscapes. I like to learn about what wildfires are doing and how they're changing the landscape. That has kept me busy for well over 2 decades. But I will stop myself. I'll rein myself in and stop doing that, even though it is very interesting to me. And I'm going to pause once again to see if there are any questions. So if there's any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or put that question into the chat. Okay, we are ready to go into the hands-on exercise. There's nothing that I need to send to you. Instead, what I'm going to have you do is to go to this dashboard. Now, I'm not going to expect you to memorize this or to even try to jot it down. Rather, I'm gonna help you out. I'm actually going to start here. Control copy, and I'm going to go to the chat line myself, and I'm going to paste in that website address. Everyone, go to your chat line. You can click on it. That is going to take you to the Recover web page. And then I'm going to urge you to click on the dashboard. That will bring up this dashboard right here. Then once it's up and running, it'll take it just a little bit of time to do that. Click on the hamburger menu and then click tutorial. And this will launch the tutorial for you. Step by step. I think we've proofed this really well. It should work very, very well for you. I'm going to turn you loose to work on this this exercise. Of course, there's the link right there as well. if you didn't get it off the chat line. But you need some way to get to this in the first place. Let's go ahead and get started. And as you have questions, as you're working through it, again, either unmute yourself, ask that question, or put it into the chat line. We will be monitoring that. And I think you'll be able to probably complete this in about 45 minutes or so. But don't rush through it just because we think you can get it done in 40 minutes. Don't do that. Take your time, ask questions, and we are here to help you.